Hi, folks. Welcome back to the AI Community Cast by Neo4j. I'm lucky enough to be here with Shikhar Quatra. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming from AWS.
Thank you for having me.
We had some really interesting conversations before now, so if you can tell me a little bit about what you're working on these days. I know you've got some exciting news of things coming up, so why don't you just jump in and tell us what you're working on?
Sure, absolutely. And first of all, thank you for having me here. So I'm working with a lot of partners across productionizing generative AI workloads. So be it about knowledge discovery, about end-to-end productionization of FAQ chatbot-based use cases. I mean, anything and everything that can come across right now. Because right now, I think a lot of companies are going into generative AI with full force.
Yes.
So I'm handling a lot of those use cases and enabling my partners. Along with that, I'm also working on a book, which is Generative AI on Amazon Bedrock.
Nice.
Which is our generative AI service, which can help enable partners using our serverless API to invoke a lot of state-of-the-art foundation models. And the book should be released within 2 months.
Yay!
So I'm excited for that. Yeah.
Excellent. I'm definitely looking forward to reading it. So obviously, I'm in the graph corner of the world, and you have some interesting thoughts on graph. So can you tell me a little bit about what your thoughts are in graph and what you're seeing?
Sure. In terms of graphs, I think there are customers who talk about using knowledge graphs, of course, and even fine-tuning some of their models. Because I think prompt engineering can take you to some extent, right, along the road. When it comes to real production-level use cases, I feel that's where fine-tuning models on knowledge graphs comes handy in order to realize a more accurate output. When you're trying to determine, whether this use case is going to be suited for some kind of knowledge graph-based scenario. I think knowledge graphs with LLMs, that synergy is coming into picture right now really well, and I think it's just going to grow further. Yeah.
So, a lot of people are working in the graph RAG and in RAG space, and they say, oh, we don't want to fine-tune, we just want to use graph. We just want to use RAG. What do you see as the biggest difference in production between going with a RAG option versus really fine-tuning with the graph itself?
That's a good question. I think, so there are two aspects. One is, when we look at RAG, it's also growing at a rapid pace. A lot of our customers, they just want to go ahead with the easy process of, hey, can we just prompt engineer the models, and then eventually, based on the data, can we just run it and then build our end-to-end use case? But it might come at the expense of a reduction in accuracy, right? But when we move to RAG or fine-tuning, coming to these two techniques, I would say that with RAG-based scenarios, that's more pronounced and that are more welcoming amongst our partners, amongst our customers. The reason is, of course, it saves a lot of time rather than fine-tuning. And of course, fine-tuning and customization of models has its own accuracy more cost also associated with it.
Of course.
But when we talk about RAG, there are so many advanced RAG techniques that are coming up. I'm also covering that in my book, by the way. And they are about query rehandling and prompt compression technique. And there are so many state-of-the-art mechanisms that are coming up in RAG that are currently being used in the industry right now. So I feel like still there is a lot of scope for customers to leverage more advanced RAG techniques and then continue to power their way through instead of purely fine-tuning.
Right.
And when it really comes to fine-tuning, there are techniques like parameter-efficient fine-tuning, low-rank adaptation, and instead of just pre-training the model from scratch, which can, of course, take a lot of cost associated with it.
But you're at AWS. You want us to use a lot of compute, right?
Yes, absolutely. I think there are customers who are focusing on training from scratch, and that's where SageMaker, Amazon SageMaker comes in. We have SageMaker Hyperpods, which can help you in train your large language models at scale. And we have AWS Trainium and Inferentia chips, which can help you in scaling those models and reducing the latency, reducing the cost. But then it purely depends on the use case and what the customer wants.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to read your book because I want to read more about prompt compression.
Sure.
I think that's super interesting. So when you think about where AI is going, obviously you're literally writing the book on something that's changing by the day right now. Is there a particular advancement that you're either really curious about or you're really looking forward to? Anything that kind of like comes to mind?
I think some of the things that come to mind is future integrations, future forms of integration, like
Okay.
from fine-tuning, RAG, prompt engineering. Yes, these approaches are going to continue to grow and refine. We have now meta prompts
Yes.
that came out. I think Anthropic came out with that, and it's really growing at a rapid pace. But I feel the major difference can be how we integrate these at edge devices.
Yeah.
And to think a little bit further, I feel the next generation is going to be focusing on more expansive applications, like in immersive reality. How you can have LLMs with knowledge graphs, with huge knowledge bases, with
Yeah.
different data sources, and running on the edge devices like in immersive reality.
Yeah.
Maybe quantum LLMs, right? When you think about LLMs running in a form of quantum engineering use cases, then I don't know, like that can be something that can really scale, and it has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you think about the future of knowledge graphs, any predictions about where it's going, or do you think it will be much more prevalent and will continue to spread?
Absolutely. I think using knowledge graphs is something that I remember, if I may digress, I
Please.
remember Chief Evangelist of Hugging Face did mention that don't fall in love with the models,
Yeah.
fall in love with the data.
Yes.
And I take that to heart. I believe data quality and having knowledge graphs, especially to form those kind of interconnected complex relationships, is going to be highly leveraged in the LLM industry. And that's what's going to take it forward.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, Shikhar, I much appreciate your time, and keep an eye out for the book. Do you have a title for the book yet?
Yes, it's called Generative AI with Amazon Bedrock.
Generative AI with Amazon Bedrock. Thank you so much for
Thank you
being
so much.
here, and we look forward to seeing your book.
Thank you. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
take care. That was great. Oh my God, it was perfect. Thank you so much. It was really interesting. I am. I'm like, I really.
But I haven't interviewed.
No, please. I just.